And I've got Elvis Presley on my boobs.
Was inspired by a horrific incident regarding...
Hello.
Hey, Deves. So, we're in Ruby's house.
We're in my humble abode.
And we're filming.
We are.
For the first time in a very
And
long
I've got
time.
Elvis Presley on my boobs.
I've got nothing on my boobs. I'm wearing a bow, though. Ruby gave
She's
it to
wearing
me.
a bow.
The bow's actually longer than my hair, which is quite depressing. But
It's okay.
life goes on. So, today we're watching three very scary
true Snapchat horror stories.
animated.
That was not great.
That wasn't great. But, you know, we're watching Snapchat horror stories animated, and we're going to end up in a corner in like 3, 2, 1. Ta-da!
Boom. It's going to be an explosion.
Yeah, I'm going to be a big boom, and then we're going to move, so
Yeah.
that'll be nice. But yeah, we're going to watch it, and we're going to kind of just react along as it goes, really.
Yeah.
Can you tell we've run out of ideas?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
let's carry on.
this is just our intro back to filming after our few week break.
Snapchat Horror Story 1.
Oh, okay. Add friend. Why is there like knocking in the corner? You heard that right?
I heard that. I wonder
Okay.
whether it was your cat at your door.
I was coming home from work one night when I had to stop for gas. I parked my car at the gas pump and went inside to pay with whatever cash I had on me. There were already 3 people waiting in line when I walked in and queued up. We were all stuck behind one of those annoying lottery guys who love to take their sweet time buying and cashing out like 10 different kinds of tickets. So I ended up making random small talk with the guy ahead of me. As we were chatting,
Whoa.
another guy in the store saw us and thought we were actually friends hanging out together. This other guy came over and butted in, also cutting in front of me to get between us. He had really light blonde hair and a terrible bowl cut like something out of the 80s, and just started talking like a total asshole.
What's up, dudes? I'm Timothy, but you can call me Tim. Hey, you got a problem, man? You're looking at me kind of funny. Nah, man, just trying to get home.
I'm
Long
so
day at work,
confused.
you know?
Me too.
I know exactly what you need. My hotel's across the street, and I just hit the liquor store. I think I'm all right, man. I
No.
don't really drink anyway.
Why would you go to a
Actually,
random man's
what about
hotel?
you? I know you drink. Yeah, I do, but I think I'll stick with these. You gotta be kidding me. Who gets drunk off 2 beers? Listen, I got the good stuff, plus some. You guys got Snapchat?
I felt cornered into adding this Timothy guy on Snapchat, but I didn't mind as I barely used it anymore. The other guy added him on Snapchat too. Then after that, Tim didn't really talk to me. It seemed like he was slowly convincing the other guy to leave with him. I was honestly thankful to this random stranger for occupying that guy so that he wouldn't bother me
Why is it glowing
anymore.
yellow?
I don't
Eventually, they made it to the front of the line. The stranger paid for his drinks. Then he and Tim walked out together.
Oh no, not
Less than a
Tim.
minute later,
Bye, Tim.
I had paid
Oh,
for
wait,
my
no,
gas
Tim's the
and was
bad guy.
exiting the
Yeah.
store to go fill up my car. I could see Tim and the stranger crossing the street to the hotel.
He's gonna
It
die.
was
He's
one of
actually
those
went to the
extended
hotel.
stay places that looked pretty sketchy. So I was glad I wasn't spending my night there. After I filled up, I went home. I made myself some dinner, cleaned up, then started getting ready for bed. Just
does
as
he
I
have
was
no sheets
plugging
on
my
his bed?
phone in, I got a notification. It was a snap from the Timothy guy. I didn't really want to open it. After all,
posted a video.
I just met him against my will. But I knew I'd get curious
His
and
location's
stay
gonna be on
awake
as well,
thinking
innit?
about what it
Oh,
could
he's
be.
gonna
So I
die.
opened it, and when I did, it turned out to be just what I expected. A selfie of Tim and the stranger holding up shots with a caption saying, "You should join us." I didn't respond.
Oh, okay.
I just closed Snapchat and put my phone on Do Not
his
Disturb,
location's gonna be-
then laid down to go to sleep.
Yeah, but why
Yet
would
for
his
some
location
reason, I felt strangely awake. Something was bothering me in the back of my mind, but I couldn't tell what exactly. Maybe it was something I said or didn't say in that whole interaction at the gas station. I kept tossing and turning for hours, but nothing seemed to put me at ease. Eventually, at around 3 or 4 a.m., I resorted to scrolling through my phone. I went through Instagram, Facebook, even a little bit of Reddit before I finally reopened Snapchat. It was a trip down memory lane at first, tapping through my friends' stories that I hadn't seen in years. But I couldn't avoid Tim's story sitting at the top of my messages. When I tapped into it, I couldn't believe what I saw. It was a video of him beating the life out of the stranger we met. The poor bastard was bloody, covering his face, begging the guy to stop.
Take it! You deserve it! Don't fall asleep! I want you to feel every bit of this!
I was frozen, watching it all unfold, story after story, and it just kept getting worse. When the guy woke up, Tim pulled his eyes open and started cutting his face. He stabbed him over and over, kicking him into the ground. The stranger was awake every time he was beaten or stabbed, and the videos were all a few minutes apart, like Tim was waiting for him to wake up, to experience the agony he was inflicting. Finally, in the last video, Tim filmed himself slitting the stranger's throat, killing him. As soon as I convinced myself I wasn't having a nightmare, I called the police. I gave them the snap story, which led them to arresting Timothy immediately. But of course, it was already too late. The stranger's body had already been dumped, after having been stabbed a dozen times, and even burned. I think about this night all the time. I can't help telling myself that if I'd been watching the story post sooner, I might have been able to save that poor man's life. However, I'm ashamed to admit that the thought which scares me more is that it could have been me.
I called it, bro. I called it. I called it.
Murderer.
This story was inspired by a horrific incident regarding a man who pleaded guilty to charges related for posting videos on social media of himself beating another man to death 3 years ago. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Timothy Kendrick, 35, pleaded guilty in June to charges of aggravated
actually
murder,
real?
kidnapping,
Half
tampering
of
with
these are usually
evidence, and
fake.
gross use of a corpse.
I didn't believe that was
The
real. I
victim
thought we were watching a
30-year-old Drew
story.
Mendelbaum, whose body was found in July of 2021.
Oh,
The
poor
police said
baby.
Kendrick met Mendelbaum at a gas station, and the two of them returned to Kendrick's hotel room to drink. Police say Mendelbaum had been stabbed more than 45 times, beaten, and his body was set on fire. He was found burned and covered in a shower curtain with zip ties around his ankles. His body was left just outside of a business complex.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So you've got an advert now.
We'll be back.
Investigators arrested Kendrick shortly after they said they found Snapchat videos
Wait,
of the torture.
That's the actual Snapchat. Oh my god.
But why did he kill him?
Don't know. Snapchat horror story 2. Okay.
Shit, bro.
Snapchat friend zone.
Oh man.
Excuse me.
This is gonna be a woman this time.
I moved out of my parents'
Yeah.
place and into my own apartment pretty early on. I didn't have too many friends when I first moved out, and I didn't really know what kind of
Why do
places
they
I
always
should
have
go
short blue
to
hair?
make
I
new
know.
ones. So I was fine with letting the social media algorithm set me up with random people. One night,
It was
this guy
8 p.m.
added me on Snapchat. His name was Lewis. I added him back, not thinking much
Why
of
would you
it.
add someone back that
We
looks like
began
that?
chatting
Okay.
after he sent me a selfie barely a few minutes later. The caption said, "Nice to meet you." He wasn't ugly, but he wasn't my type either. Just kind of a plain, average guy.
said that's not
Figuring
ugly.
I'd entertain it for a bit, I sent him a selfie back, saying, "Nice to meet you too." We ended up talking back and forth for a while. This continued on
I really
and
hope he
off
doesn't
into
look
the
that
next
bad in
week
real
or
life.
so,
Yeah.
then steadily
we
for a
might
few
see it at the end.
days. And before I knew it, we had a best friends badge and a streak going. Once we figured out we lived next to each other, we decided to meet up in person.
Why would
I
you
made it
do
clear from the very
that?
beginning that this was a purely platonic friendship. He seemed okay with that, so we hung out a few times here and there. However, the more we talked on Snapchat, the more Lewis actually started developing feelings for me. He started offering to buy my groceries when we ran errands together. I insisted that I wanted to cover them myself, but he was becoming more persistent, tapping his card and paying for
I'm
it.
just in utter
Afterwards,
shock.
I reminded him that I just wanted to hang out as friends. I explained all over again that I wasn't ready for a serious relationship and I wasn't interested in one either.
He looks like me
just
after a night
nodded
out when
and
I've
brushed
kept
it
my makeup off.
almost like he wasn't taking what I was saying serious. But over text,
Don't talk
he
to
became
him.
even bolder about his feelings, saying he wanted me to put more effort into our relationship
Oh,
and that
fuck
he
no,
wanted
it's
to
one of
go
them.
on actual dates. For the 10th time, I had to tell him I didn't have any romantic feelings towards him and that I didn't want to be anything more than friends.
I mean,
it
she's
was
letting
getting
know pretty
annoying and weird
aggressively.
as hell.
Yeah.
The next day, I ignored his text while I was at work. It was just my luck, though, that my motorcycle wouldn't start when I was trying to leave.
That's a moped.
And nobody was responding but Lewis. He offered to take me home and fix my motorcycle later. I stupidly agreed. Then he came to pick me up at my
Move.
apartment complex. He asked to use my bathroom before leaving. I let him since he helped me out. When he came out of the bathroom, we went to hug goodbye. But something awful happened. While we were hugging, his arm slipped down from my shoulders to my waist. Then he pulled me in for a kiss. I began fighting him off, trying to push and shove him off of me. Finally, I hit him hard enough to get him to let me go. But it wasn't over. He backed me into a corner in my own apartment, then revealed himself to be the monster he truly was.
What is wrong with you? How could you do this to me?
You're such a goddamn tease. I'm tired of being friend-zoned. If you don't want to be with me, then I'm going to stop helping you.
I didn't ask for any of that.
Yeah? And what about your bike? You asked me to help you with that, didn't you?
That's different. How can't you see that?
You seem confused.
I'm so embarrassed.
So let me be
We don't really say a lot on
100%
the
clear.
video.
No, I'm
You
very
either
sorry.
get
I felt
all
very
these
engrossed.
and none
Yeah.
of me.
Then I choose none. Now get out.
You still don't understand. If I can't have you, then no one can.
Oh, fuck
I
off.
hadn't seen my sister Kelly in a few days. I didn't think anything was wrong, but then I
She's
got a
fucking
call
dead.
from her work. They said she had a no-call, no-showed and left her bike in the parking lot, which was completely unlike her. She wouldn't respond to any of my calls or texts
She's
either.
dead.
So I went to her apartment and
Yeah,
knocked
she's
on the
fucking
door, but got no reply. Becoming more concerned by the second, I went to the office and begged them to give me a key so I could check on her. They let me have one, and then I went back up to her
Why does that
apartment
boss
and
have her
opened the door.
apartment
When I stepped inside, I saw the worst thing I have ever seen in my life.
And she died.
My sister was laying face down on the floor in a pool of blood. I dropped to my knees and sobbed, screaming, begging for it to be a dream, but I
And you were telling me none of her neighbours heard the gunshot.
was dead.
She
The
lives in an
police
apartment
came,
complex on
and
the third
they
floor.
soon
No,
had
that
a
was the other-
prime suspect.
Is that her?
This guy
No,
she
I
had
don't
been
know.
talking
No, that was
to
the other
who
video.
went by the name of Louis. They looked at my sister's Snapchat logs as evidence, then arrested him after finishing the investigation before the end of the day. Ever since she passed, our family has been shattered.
Oh,
Taking my
that's
sister
so
away from
sad.
us was the most selfish act that a man could have committed, and I hope he pays for it by living in agony for the rest of his worthless
I'm
life.
wanting to see photos after this now.
I need to see
A
the...
review of a
There we
victim's
go.
Snapchat log reveals the man's request for actual
my God,
dates
she's so
and more
pretty.
effort from her, with the victim telling
fair,
him she
he's
was
actually not
only
that terrible
interested in a
looking.
Yeah.
friendship and did not feel a romantic attraction. A man in Minnesota has been charged with taking out his friend with a firearm at close range because she didn't want a romantic relationship with him. Jose Luis Lopez Zique, 27, was charged for the June 16th slaying of Kaylee Grace Arseth, 22. Arseth's family reached out for a wellness check after she failed to report to work. Police arrived to find her car in the parking lot and her apartment door locked. A locator app on her phone showed that it was inside the apartment, so when she failed to respond to knocks, officers obtained a key from the apartment management and gained access. Inside, they found Arseth face down on her living room floor in a pool of blood, with an apparent wound to her head. Friends of the victim told police that Arseth had recently met a man online who went by the name Louis. They determined that the pair had spent time together in person and that Louis bought Arseth things on
Why did they
shopping
change the
trips,
story
but the
slightly?
relationship
Yeah.
was not
She had a
romantic or
moped.
intimate.
He
Investigators
looked like
found
that in the
Arseth's
fucking
computer
Yeah.
logged
story.
into Snapchat, where she shared a best friend's badge and had a streak that had just ended
He's
with
not
Louis.
terrible.
After her
No.
death, Louis sent no
She's
further
so
snaps
pretty.
to the victim. Police then began exploring messages with Louis, where they uncovered a frustration
got
growing
mad like
between
that.
them, with Louis asking for a romantic relationship and Arseth responding that she only wanted a friendship. Arseth asked Louis if he was available on June 16th to help her with her motorcycle.
Oh.
That's when Louis picked her up that day after work, brought her to her home, and did what he did.
That's so sad,
That's
bro.
harsh.
That's actually really sad.
Oh,
Another advert.
we'll be back.
Snapchat
Story 3. It's the last one. Disturbing snap map incident. Oh god.
It's gonna be a stalker.
This is why I don't have my location
A
on
few
for
years
anyone apart
ago,
from my friends.
I met a woman named Allie. We ran into each other while ordering drinks
What
at
is
a
it
bar.
about?
I hit on her a little bit and managed to get her Snapchat.
The man
The
with the
next
yellow
day,
hat.
I hit her up to see if she was still
Let's turn the
interested.
sword up.
It turned out that she was, so we kept in touch for a while. Over the next couple of weeks, we went on a few dates. I was hesitant to get super involved with her because she still wasn't over her ex, or more accurately, her ex was not over her. The ex-boyfriend in question was this crazy jealous psycho guy named Scott. I could tell that Allie didn't want to talk about him, but she didn't have much of a choice because he was constantly stalking her, messaging her on Snapchat, and showing up everywhere. They'd recently gone through a nasty breakup, but it was clear that Scott still wanted her. During our conversations, Allie told me about how manipulative and possessive the guy was. The idea of her hanging out with any other man would turn him batshit crazy. Even going out with her female friends was also too difficult for him to accept. She eventually had him blocked and all that, but it seemed like he always continued to stalk her. Now, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous, but given how much she wanted to be with me, I brushed the red flags under the rug. However, one night, we went on a date, probably our 4th or 5th one. As we were chatting and having dinner, Allie suddenly froze, and her face went pale. I tried to snap her out of it, but then I realized she couldn't stop staring out the restaurant window. That's when I looked over to where she was staring at, and saw a man standing right outside staring at us, with a face full of rage. I knew it had to be Scott. Right there was the confirmation of every terrifying thing she had been saying about him, that he really was stalking her. He didn't just stay outside the restaurant, though. No, he charged in, grabbed me by the collar, then pulled me up out of my chair and started screaming in my face.
Who the hell are you? And what are you doing with her? That's my bitch!
Scott, stop! Leave him alone!
Shut up, you thought! pH balance must be off from all the dudes you've been screwing. Listen, man, don't do this. I'll do whatever I want.
pH balance
I'll break
must be
every
off from all
bone
the
in your
dudes you're
body if you
screwing.
lay a finger
That is
on
the best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Luckily for me, as soon as Scott slammed me onto the
use
table,
that one.
waiters
use
came
that
out
one
and
for
pulled
that
him off of me. But I swear, I was a second away from getting my eye gouged out with a steak knife. Immediately after, despite their efforts to keep him there to face consequences, he managed to get away and ran out of the restaurant, disappearing. We were asked if we wanted to call the police anyway, but I could tell by the look in Allie's face that she just wanted the night to be over, so I took her home. We were also told not to come back since they held us partially responsible for the damage to the tableware. After that explosive encounter with Scott, I pumped the brakes on hanging out with Allie until it seemed like things had blown over. We weren't sure how he had found her, so we didn't want to risk a repeat of the same thing. Of course, we considered getting a restraining order, but we were worried it would make him do something even crazier. Plus, it would probably take a while before it would come into full effect. Before dropping her off, I parked on her driveway, and we sat in my car chatting for a bit till she was comfortable enough to head inside. The whole time, we were both paranoid thinking that Scott would show up again, but he didn't. After about an hour or so, Allie got comfortable enough to head inside, then I waved her goodbye and drove home. About 30 minutes later, I got home and sent Allie a selfie on Snapchat with a caption saying, "Good night." However, she never opened it. I assumed she had just passed out since it was late, and we'd had quite a few drinks. I then tried to get to sleep myself, but I couldn't stop thinking about that encounter I had with that Scott guy. I had this terrible feeling that something was wrong. I just hit that point in the relationship where I was really starting to care about her, so I thought I was being irrational, but I eventually couldn't take it anymore and got back in my car to go check on her. As soon as I parked outside her house, I knew something was wrong. The door was wide open. I jumped out of my car and ran inside, where my heart shattered. Allie was dead on the floor, in an absolute mess. I called the police. I told them what I knew, and it very quickly became a search for her ex-boyfriend Scott. When they arrested him, he admitted he'd been stalking her the entire time. He had confessed to using the Snap Map feature on Snapchat to find her location. He had found the place we were going on a date, then decided to later break into her house and wait for her to return. The moment I left, he killed her out of jealousy. I've never been able to face the world the same since.
Oh, we get to find out the true story
This
now.
story was inspired by a disturbing incident regarding a Kansas man convicted of taking out his ex-girlfriend in Nebraska. The suspect was Aldrich Scott, who was found guilty more than a year after the disappearance of his ex, Carrie Allen, 43, according to reports. Allen vanished in November of 2022, and Scott was initially charged with kidnapping. Police later determined that Scott tracked her location on Snapchat and drove from Topeka, Kansas, to her home in Omaha, where he then waited until she arrived before taking her out with a firearm. Prosecutors had argued that Alan had been on a date at a restaurant when Scott tracked her location. Scott fled the country and was eventually arrested in Belize. Alan's body was found in a shallow grave. Scott was sentenced to life in prison.
Good.
That's so sad, bro.
Oh my god.
That's really sad. They were so sad.
Oh my god. I don't really know how to comprehend that.
No. They were all really sad. I was expecting like scary and like,
But that was just
but like with a
depressing.
good ending.
They all just died.
But everyone died. Like everyone literally died.
Nobody survived. Everybody's fucking dead.
Holy shit, bro. That's a TV now, sis.
Yeah. I suppose that's the end.
I suppose it is.
Thank you for
Right.
watching.
Lovely short video this week, but then next week we should be back to our ghost hunting videos. Anyways,
See you. Bye.
roast beef.
Roast beef.